Picture this. A brutal July sun burns over the plains of Flanders, turning the battlefield into a furnace. It's July 27th, 1214, the day Europe holds its breath. Across the dust-choked horizon, two worlds collide. On one side, King Philip II Augustus, the Lion of France, armored like a walking fortress, riding at the head of a nation on the rise. On the other, a nightmare alliance. Emperor Otto IV, Flemish warlords hungry for rebellion, English gold fueling mercenary killers, an entire coalition built for one purpose: to erase France from the map. Drums thunder, steel flashes. Banners of the fleur-de-lis whip against the imperial eagle as if the sky itself is at war. Then, the charge. Thousands of knights slam together with the force of a collapsing star. Lances shatter. Earth trembles. Philip is knocked from his horse, almost crushed, almost captured. But he rises, roaring, and the French line explodes forward like a divine wrath. By dusk, the coalition lies broken. Otto flees in terror. And from the blood-soaked mud of Bouvines, modern Europe is born. This isn't just a battle. It's the earthquake that reshaped kingdoms, toppled rulers, and lit the fuse of a new world. Strap in, because the story of Bouvines is not the end of an era, but the beginning of everything. Part 1. Setup: the fragile web of medieval power. Flashback to a Europe trembling on the edge of chaos. It's the late 12th century, and the continent is a powder keg of crowns and ambitions. To the west rises the Angevin Empire, ruled by England's King John, a man as cunning as he is cursed. His father, Henry II, forged an empire stretching from the Scottish border to the sunlit mountains of the Pyrenees. His brother, Richard the Lionheart, held it with steel and fire. But John? John loses it. In 1204, Normandy slips from his grip like sand, snatched by the man reshaping France itself, Philip II Augustus. Philip is no ordinary king. He's a political war machine. Since taking the throne in 1180, he's carved France from a fractured mosaic of feudal fiefdoms into a rising, centralized state. He plays lords like chess pieces, tightens royal power, builds fortresses, and outmaneuvers rivals with snake-like precision. Yet enemies circle him like wolves. To the east, Emperor Otto IV, backed by the thunder of the Holy Roman Empire and the blessing of Pope Innocent III, dreams of smothering France's rise. To the north, Flanders, wealthy and stubbornly proud, rebels under its fiery count, Ferdinand, eager to break free from French dominance. And to the south, John plots revenge, burning with humiliation. He buys mercenaries, he bribes allies. He kneels before the Pope in 1213 to escape excommunication, not from repentance, but pure desperation. Piece by piece, the anti-French alliance tightens like a noose. Otto, John, Flanders, Brabant, Boulogne, English gold, imperial steel. Their goal? Simple, terrifying. Wipe France off the map. Restore Angevin supremacy. Break Philip before his kingdom can fully awaken. Europe teeters. If Philip falls, the old order returns. English dominance across the continent. If Philip prevails, France becomes a juggernaut destined to reshape history. The armies march, the drums quake, the storm gathers at Bouvines. Next, the thunderous march to war, and the trap that changes everything. Part 2. The Road to Ruin. Coalitions clash and fates align. Summer, 1214. Europe holds its breath. Armies move like living storms, each step pounding closer to a showdown that will decide the fate of kingdoms. To the south, King John launches his desperate gambit. He lands in Aquitaine with English knights, Poitevin lords, and mercenary crossbowmen, hoping to drag Philip's forces away from the north. But Philip's son, Prince Louis, answers the call. At La Roche-aux-Moines, Louis crushes John so decisively that the English king abandons the field without even giving battle. John flees in humiliation. The southern front collapses, but the real danger lies to the north. Emperor Otto IV, commanding a massive coalition army, 25,000 strong, marches out of Flanders, Germans in iron helms, Flemish knights hungry for vengeance, English paid mercenaries seeking plunder. Their goal is simple: cut France in half, burn their way to Paris, break Philip's crown forever. Philip II moves like lightning. With barely 15,000 men, he sprints northward. Knights, foot soldiers, archers, even volunteer guildsmen from Paris and Amiens. Ordinary citizens, ready to die for their king. He reaches the bridge at Bouvines, and in a decision as insane as it is brilliant, he destroys it behind him. Philip traps himself on a narrow island of land. No retreat, no escape. It's victory or death, glory or annihilation. Otto sees this and laughs. A French king cornered, fate delivered on a platter. So Otto breaks a sacred taboo. He attacks on a Sunday, a holy day when even war is supposed to rest. His commanders warn him. Priests protest. Otto doesn't care. He wants Philip crushed now, before reinforcements arrive. And so the coalition prepares to strike the French supply wagons. A quick kill, an easy victory. But they misjudge the man they face. Philip has spent decades turning France into a fighting machine. Now that machine stands at Bouvines. 2 worlds, 2 futures, 1 field. The stakes? Unthinkable. If Otto wins, France shatters back into feudal fragments. The Holy Roman Empire dominates Europe. English power rises from the ashes. Philip's reforms die with him. If Philip wins, the Angevin Empire collapses. Otto's throne crumbles. France rises as a true nation. The armies line up. The ground trembles. The air crackles with destiny. Next, the battle erupts, and the world tilts on its axis. Part 3. The Battle Unleashed. Steel, sweat, and shattered lines. The sun hits its zenith. Shields glint. War horns scream across the fields of Bouvines. No more diplomacy. No more alliances. It's kill or be killed. Otto strikes first. His coalition slams into Philip's exposed rearguard like a tidal wave of iron. Flemish knights roar their battle cries. German infantry lowers a forest of pikes. English mercenaries knock arrows with deadly calm. Philip's marshals react instantly. The French knights swing around in tight wedges, armored thunderbolts, and the field detonates into chaos. The center, where kings bleed, Philip II, front and center, leads from the saddle, sword flashing. Then, tragedy nearly strikes. A German halberd hooks his reins. Philip is ripped off his horse and crashes to the ground. Dust explodes. Enemy blades descend. For a heartbeat, the fate of France hangs by a thread. Then the roar, Vive le Roi! His household knights surge like a tidal wave, smashing into the attackers. Steel clangs, shields splinter, and Philip is dragged to safety. The French line, far from breaking, explodes with renewed fury. Across the field, Otto watches in disbelief. Left. The Flemish break-count Ferdinand of Flanders commands some of Europe's finest knights. They slam into the French flank, expecting an easy rout. But they meet the Norman cavalry, hardened veterans who refuse to yield an inch. The fighting is savage. Lances shatter. Men grapple from horseback, dragging each other into the mud. Slowly, Flemish momentum collapses. Ferdinand is isolated, surrounded, beaten from the saddle, and taken prisoner. The first domino to fall. The Flemish lines begin to waver. Right. Otto's desperation. On the other side of the field, Otto IV leads the German cavalry with ruthless resolve. He personally charges a unit of French clerical knights, bishops in armor, and wounds 2 of them. But this bravery is his undoing. A French knight drives a spear into Otto's horse. The emperor is hurled to the ground, his banner falling beside him. Panic spreads. The emperor is down! Men begin to flee. Some throw down shields, others run for the bridge, forgetting it was destroyed. Otto manages to crawl onto another horse and escapes the field. Alone, abandoning his imperial eagle standard to the French. For a medieval ruler, this is worse than death, the collapse. By late afternoon, the coalition disintegrates. English mercenaries flee first. Flemish knights surrender or die where they stand. German infantry breaks apart under French counterattacks. The field becomes a scrapyard of snapped lances, broken shields, and bodies. When the dust settles, the coalition has lost everything. Count Ferdinand, captured. Duke of Lorraine, captured. 170 noble knights, dead. Thousands, wounded or routed. The imperial banner seized Otto, a fugitive. French casualties? Shockingly light, around 1,000 total. This wasn't luck, it was mastery. Philip II chose the terrain, seized the initiative, and shattered the greatest coalition Europe had seen in a century. But the true impact? Not just in bodies, but in crowns. Part 4. Immediate aftermath. Thrones topple and maps redrawn. The battlefield quiets. But the political earthquake is only beginning. Bouvines wasn't just a victory, it was a medieval supernova, blasting apart dynasties and reshaping Europe's future. France, a kingdom ascends. As word spreads of Philip's triumph, France explodes with celebration. Bells ring from Paris to Toulouse. Chroniclers hail him as Philip II Augustus, the father of the French nation. And they're not exaggerating. His enemies crushed, his borders secure, Philip absorbs Normandy, Anjou, Maine, and Touraine into the royal domain, ending 2 centuries of Angevin dominance. Flanders bows low. Count Ferdinand? Locked in a Parisian dungeon for 12 long years. For the first time, France stands not as a patchwork of feuding nobles, but as a centralized, unstoppable monarchy. The Capetan dynasty, once fragile, now gleams with divine legitimacy. The Holy Roman Empire collapse from within. Across the Rhine, the defeat detonates like a bomb. Otto IV, once Pope Innocent III's golden boy, returns a broken emperor, his banner gone, his prestige in ashes. German princes see blood in the water. Within months, they abandon him. By 1215, Otto is formally deposed. In his place rises Frederick II, soon to become one of the greatest emperors in history. But the empire itself? Cracked. Bouvines accelerates a centuries-long slide into the mess of semi-independent duchies, bishoprics, and city-states, a political labyrinth that will keep Germany fragmented until the 19th century. A single day rewires an empire. England, humiliation, bankruptcy, and rebellion. No throne suffers more than England's. King John, already despised, already called soft sword, gambled everything on Otto's victory. He poured treasuries into mercenaries and lost it all. When Bouvines collapses, so does his credibility. Barons, furious and broke, revolt. Castles rise in rebellion. London opens its gates to the rebels. Cornered and powerless, John is forced to sign what he hates most. The Magna Carta, June 1215. A document forged not out of idealism, but out of the humiliation of Bouvines. It limits royal power, protects baronial rights, sows the seeds of constitutional government. Meanwhile, the Angevin Empire, once stretching from Scotland to the Pyrenees, is dead. England is shoved back onto its island, its continental dreams extinguished for centuries. Bouvines didn't just defeat John. It reshaped the identity of England itself. Chapter: Europe, a new balance of power. Bouvines redraws the map with brutal clarity. France ascendant, England humbled, Holy Roman Empire destabilized, the papacy emboldened by Frederick's rise. Europe's future locked onto a new trajectory. This wasn't merely the end of a war. It was the birth of a new political order, a Europe of centralized monarchies, shifting alliances, rising nationalism, and the slow death of feudal fragmentation. The medieval world before Bouvines, gone. The world after, ready for kings, crusades, rebellions, and revolutions. Part 5. Legacy, a new Europe. Rises from the ashes Bouvines. One battle, one Sunday afternoon. And yet, it becomes the hinge on which the entire medieval world swings. Its legacy doesn't fade. It grows, generation after generation, shaping the kingdoms, laws, identities, and political systems we live under today. Let's unfold the shockwaves. France, the birth of a powerhouse. Bouvines transforms France from a feudal patchwork into the engine of European might. Philip Augustus proves a king can defeat emperors, crush coalitions, and unite his realm under a single crown. His victory becomes the cornerstone of Capetian centralization, the chain reaction that leads to the rise of a true French state, the bureaucracy, taxation, and infrastructure that make it strong, the ideological foundation for the later French monarchy. Without Bouvines, there is no France of Saint Louis, no France of Richelieu, no France of Louis XIV's absolutist glory. And in the streets after the battle, something world-changing appears for the first time. Songs celebrating not just the king, but France itself. The earliest sparks of national identity flicker into life. England, defeat that creates democracy. John's humiliation at Bouvines does what no foreign invader ever could. It forces England inward. Battered, bankrupt, and stripped of empire, John loses the loyalty of his barons. Their revolt forces him to sign history's most famous political document, Magna Carta. Born from defeat, it becomes the ancestor of Parliament, the English Bill of Rights, American constitutionalism, modern human rights law. In losing his empire, John unintentionally plants the seeds of democracy itself. England stops dreaming of ruling Europe and starts building the institutions that will rule its future. Holy Roman Empire, a giant, splits apart. Bouvines annihilates Otto IV's authority. The German princes tear the crown from his head, replacing him with Frederick II, brilliant but distant, ruling from Sicily. Germany drifts away from centralization. Princes grow powerful. The emperor grows symbolic. This disunity cracks the empire just enough for future storms. Martin Luther's Reformation, thus. 30 Years' War. Centuries of fractured German politics. Bouvines becomes the quiet catalyst that keeps the Holy Roman Empire divided for 600 years. The balance of Europe. The Age of States begins. Before Bouvines, Europe was dominated by feudal lords and sprawling dynasties. After Bouvines, a new system begins to rise, one that will eventually dominate the modern world, the nation-state. France consolidates, England stabilizes, the empire decentralizes. No single power can dominate the continent. This balance of power model, competing states restraining each other, becomes the blueprint for Renaissance diplomacy, Westphalian sovereignty, modern international politics. A medieval clash sets the rules for global order. Forgotten battle that forged the future. Few people today know the name Bouvines, but we all live in its shadow. Its consequences ripple into constitutional rights, centralized monarchies, national identities, modern statecraft, the political map of Europe itself. Bouvines didn't simply change who ruled what. It rewired the DNA of Europe. It is the moment the medieval world died, and the blueprint of our modern world was born. Conclusion. The day Europe was reborn. And so, on a blazing Sunday in July 1214, on a field most people today couldn't point to on a map, the future was forged. Not by kings in marble halls, not by diplomats with scrolls, but by mud-soaked knights, shattered shields, and a single crown refusing to fall. Bouvines wasn't just a victory, it was a detonation. A shockwave that tore through empires, rewrote borders, and reshaped the destiny of millions who would be born centuries later. Because from this one battle came the rise of France as a true nation, the birth of Magna Carta and the roots of democracy, the weakening of the Holy Roman Empire, the blueprint of the modern state system. Think about that. A few hours of brutal combat, and Europe changes direction like a sword swinging through air. Philip Augustus rides off not just as a king, but as the architect of a dynasty. John's defeat sparks the liberties the Western world holds sacred. And Otto's collapse opens centuries of German fragmentation, shaping wars, ideas, revolutions. This wasn't the end of an age. This was the ignition of a new one. So the next time you walk the streets of Paris, London, or Berlin, the next time you hear words like rights, nations, sovereignty, or states. Remember, their roots do not lie in parliaments or palaces. They lie in the sweat, steel, and blood of Bouvines, a forgotten battlefield that built the world we live in. If you found this story as epic as we did, hit like, subscribe, and buckle up. Because history isn't dead. It's alive, it's roaring, and we're just getting started.